Redfall throws you headfirst into a nightmarish world filled with cultists, vampires, and surreal psychic projections. Overcoming the chaotic forces of evil in this once quaint Massachusetts town requires careful strategy and exceptional sets of skills. Thankfully, 4 brave souls possess the abilities and willpower to bite back against the intimidating vampire gods. For aspiring stake-plunging heroes of the night, let's break down which character you should choose in Redfall. The 4 playable characters in Redfall come from different personal and professional backgrounds, but share one important similarity. They've all found themselves trapped on an island invaded by bloodthirsty vampires. For the surviving residents of Redfall, these vampire slayers stand as the last beacon of hope against seemingly impossible odds. Before we dive into their distinctive abilities and how they can be leveraged to incinerate blood-sucking freaks, let's get to know the heroes of Redfall. Jacob Boyer is a former Special Forces military sniper who embraced the mercenary lifestyle after his discharge. While in Redfall for a job, an ugly encounter with a vampire god granted Jacob impressive powers that amplified his sniping skills and manifested a spectral raven companion. Layla Ellison was innocently studying biomedical engineering at Redfall Technical University when she decided to participate in a medical research study at Avum Therapeutics. However, a wild accident ended up presenting Layla with strange telekinetic powers. Devinder Crousley is a self-taught inventor, internet influencer, and expert cryptozoologist. While traveling to Redfall to promote his latest book, Like a Mothman to the Flame, Dev sees these vampiric developments as a chance to prove once and for all that cryptids are very real. Remi de la Rosa is a passionate member of the Coast Guard who makes the safety of those around her a top priority. This MIT graduate even built a search and rescue robot named Reborn, which comes in quite handy during situations like these. Now that we've spent some time learning about the characters' past experiences and narrative motivations in Redfall, it's time to highlight the key differences between their skills, special powers, and varying playstyles. First up, we have the ranged annihilator, Jacob. With an entire kit built around sniper rifles and long-distance combat, Jacob is an outstanding choice for players who prefer a more calculated approach to enemy encounters. Jacob is at his best when assessing enemy forces from afar and picking them off before they even realize something's wrong. Jacob's active abilities are Raven, Cloak, and Heartstopper. Raven allows Jacob to command his Raven to fly forward and mark enemies. You can also hold the action key to make the Raven scan for nearby enemies while remaining on Jacob's arm. The Raven ability is a potent means of identifying threats in the area, providing Jacob opportunities to get a better sniping vantage point or avoid confrontations altogether. Jacob's Cloak ability temporarily makes him invisible to enemy forces. However, attacking will deactivate Cloak and allow enemies to see Jacob again. Cloak is another stealth-centric skill in Jacob's utility belt that delivers flexibility in how and when you engage with vampires and cultists. Heartstopper is Jacob's ultimate ability, which summons a ghostly rifle. You can use the remarkable sight to lock onto enemies and then fire to deal heavy damage. For players looking to dish out maximum devastation, Heartstopper is one of the fastest ways to dispatch groups of enemies in Redfall. Jacob isn't the best pick if you're a fan of running in guns blazing, but if slow, steady, and deadly is more your speed, this sniper will be right up your alley. Next, we have the charismatic wildcard, Layla. Her versatile telekinetic powers present effective and often hilarious interactions in Redfall. With a balanced array of mobility and sustain thanks to mystical umbrellas and elevators, Layla is a solid choice for players who enjoy being a chaotic part of the action. Layla's active abilities are Lift, Umbrella, and Vampire Ex-Boyfriend. Lift summons a psychic lift that launches you into the air. From open-world traversal to literally getting the jump on enemies, Lift is an endlessly useful ability for Layla. There's nothing quite like launching yourself through the sky to rain bullets on the unsuspecting enemies below. The Umbrella ability summons a psychic umbrella to block enemy and friendly projectiles. Pressing the skill button while Umbrella is active releases a psychic blast that damages enemies. Umbrella allows Layla to get in or out of spicy situations. Ranged enemies can often be the toughest to face in Redfall, and this particular skill helps momentarily stop all incoming ranged damage. And if enemies shoot you enough, that psychic blast gets pretty satisfying. Layla's ultimate ability is Vampire Ex-Boyfriend, which lets Layla call in a favor from her ex-boyfriend Jason, who happens to be a vampire. Jason is an extremely welcomed ally on the battlefield and can quickly teleport between enemies to deal bursts of damage. While it's clear things won't work on a romantic level, it's nice to see Layla and Jason remain friends. Dev and his homegrown collection of science experiments are a vampire's worst nightmare. Unlike Jacob, Dev excels in close-quarters combat thanks to the relentless crowd control provided by his special abilities. This cryptid hunter can shock, petrify, and even stupefy enemies with clever contraptions. Dev's active abilities are Arc Javelin, Translocate, and Blacklight. Arc Javelin is a throwable skill that can be tossed into enemies or surfaces, creating a lightning hazard that will zap nearby enemies. If you find yourself overwhelmed by large groups of cultists or vampires, Arc Javelin will deal substantial damage and temporarily stun those hit by the electricity. Translocate tosses out a translocation beacon you can teleport to by pressing the skill button a second time, and allies can use the translocate terminal you leave behind to follow you. Much like Layla's lift, Translocator is an exceedingly valuable skill in Redfall. You can use its teleportation capabilities to reach distant locations or escape the imposing fangs of a vampire's bite. Dev's ultimate ability, Blacklight, uses a modified camera rig to create a powerful burst of UV light that petrifies vampires and staggers human enemies. Blacklight is arguably the best ultimate ability in the game. It can instantly turn the tide of battle in your favor and buy time to heal, reload, or punch impacted enemies. Dev's unique assortment of tools makes him a compelling choice for solo players and an essential pick for co-op squads. If supplying heals, robotic companions, and ample explosions sounds like your ideal Redfall vacation, then Remi is your gal. Serving as the de facto support character in the game, Remi can offer recovery unmatched by any other hero. And if you decide to play solo, her robot companion Bribone also helps make the world of Redfall feel a little less lonely. Remi's active abilities are C4 Charge, Siren, and Mobilize. C4 Charge tosses an explosive device that sticks to targets and surfaces. Once armed, press the skill button again to detonate. Call me old-fashioned, but I love a good explosion, and C4 Charge delivers that in spades. From tagging unaware enemies to blowing up entire gas stations, this ability unleashes some genuine destruction. Siren commands Bribone to distract nearby enemies, making himself a target and absorbing damage. When using the Siren ability, Bribone pulls all aggro and supplies critical breathing room for players. This brief window allows Remi to sprinkle a C4 charge into the mix for added flavor. Mobilize is Remi's ultimate ability, which creates a rallying point where you and your allies are healed over time. This vital ability is a certified lifesaver and can provide clutch healing when enemy aggression would make it otherwise impossible. It can also be upgraded to drop an additional beacon on your companion Bribone. Remi and Bribone are an unstoppable duo in Redfall, and if you're playing with some friends, you'll be more than glad to have those fantastic heals around. And there you have it. Those are the most significant differences between the playable characters in Redfall. Hopefully this convenient guide helps steer you towards the proper pick. For more on Redfall, be sure to check out our official review and our collection of tips and tricks. And for everything else gaming, keep it here on IGN.